What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this week we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. It's been a busy one for the end of February, but if you enjoy the show regularly, hit the like button. Let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, a notable story. This one is Horizon has announced a cost increase. Now, they had announced it last week and I had forgot to talk about it in the news, but it went into place since the last time the news was filmed. Now, you will have seen that prices throughout Horizon, parts and vehicles, have increased already. Now they put out a letter with the, not really an explanation, just kind of a statement saying, we've tried to keep our costs low or whatnot, but due to, increases in costs and materials and inflation in general, that they need to raise their prices. So they did. That all went into effect, including the newest axial, the Gilamon. That we all just did release videos on. Some of us talked about the price in it, but the price at launch was $579. Now the Gilamon is still in pre-order and the cost has been raised to $599. So it almost seems like one of those things, like it was so close to the release of the vehicle that why didn't they just price it where it needed to be at first rather than having this initial release and then a price raise a week and a half later? That's the wildest one to me, is that, they just weren't discussing what the other people were doing. I don't know. Maybe the people who were in charge of that side of decision making didn't even know that this was going to happen at the same time, which would seem difficult to believe, but anything is possible in big companies. Other axial increases, the SCX10iii Jeep JLU, that is back up in price to $499, which I believe is where that was when it was released, but it had since then, been dropped in price over time since it's been out for quite some time now, but now back up to like almost release price. The Gladiator, back up to $579. That one, I don't believe had been at that price for 2 years. But again, now back up to $579, basically where it was previously. It almost makes sense in some ways how you have to raise prices on maybe items that are older because they might have been priced one way and then as things go on, the price has gone up and they need to capture that. But like the Gilamon, like it was just released. You know what the price is. It was just established, other than the fact there are new tariffs that have been put in place, and that vehicle, as well as most of Axials now, or all of Axials now, are coming out of China instead. So they are going to get hit with some of those tariffs. But that is just one of those things. When costs from one person goes up, it just get passed down to the end user. So that's where we're going to see those types of things. And that's really, again, the only explanation, but it still seems like it was so close to the release that I would have expected it initially. But they are not the only ones hit with this same thing. Redcat also announced that they're going to be adjusting their prices, and theirs are going to come into effect in March, I believe. So not yet, but the statement that I heard, I did not get a copy of the email from Redcat. So what I'm going on here is secondhand from a dealer who did get it, but just verbally. So from what they got in an email, it said that they're going to be raising their costs or their prices 10% on vehicles and at least 10% on everything else. So they're going to try and keep it as tight as possible on vehicles themselves, but parts and whatnot, you could see that price go up even higher. Something to consider. That one you've got 4 or 5 days before maybe that dives into effect. By the next time this news is on, it may have already happened. So enough with the bad side of things. Everything else, only good. First of all, turning the pages and only to the best, Scale Garage Systems has another new release. This for the K10, the Chevy K10 truck. But they put this amazing looking tow truck unit in the back. You can get it in raw. They also have this example of a beautifully detailed and painted version with like the Golf livery. Absolutely amazing. These things are handmade. They're a mix of like laser cut and handmade parts that are then hand assembled, and they're really a sight to see in person. If you're interested in these, go check out their website, as well as they have a ton of other vehicles where they offer some of these amazing little kits for. If you haven't lately, go check out their website. It's one of my favorites to look at. Then another coming soon item, this one from Holmes Hobbies. Now, Holmes has been teasing for quite some time about the fact that he's probably going to be doing a 2-in-1, and this week on the Holmes Hobbies YouTube channel, we got to see a close-up of his new 2-in-1 system, and this thing is going to be fantastic. I'm confident that this is going to be a big hit all around. 540 overall size. It's a combination of his 10-pole in-runner motor and an AM32 ESC that's built into the back side. He went in depth of how the construction is done and some of the advantages and the serviceability that this new motor is going to have. It's got an auxiliary control for drag brake adjustments from your radio. Also, some people really enjoy that type of thing. It's going to initially be coming out, or the initial pre-order is going to be for the 2300 kV version. But in the future, we may also see 1800 and 3000 kV options, all of which, the 2300, the 1800, and that 3000 are all 2S to 4S compatible. Typically at this point, we've seen 3S capable 2-in-1s. This one, adding 4S, giving you the ability to crank a little bit more out of these. Granted, it is a 2-in-1. Heat is always going to be something to watch, always something to consider, but really looking forward to the production version of these getting out there, and I'm confident this is going to be a super popular 2-in-1. Now, if you work for an RC company and you'd like to see any of your products on the Scale News Update, you can send me an email to news@harleydesigns.com. Shoot over a description, a photo, and a link to where you can buy it, or approximately when it will be available and how. Shoot that over to that email. Love to take a look at it, see if we can get it on the Scale News Update. Also, don't forget to check out Livestream Takeover every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific to 9 p.m. Eastern. This week, like no different. We're coming up to the end of season 5. 5 complete years of never missing a single Wednesday, starting the 6th year here very shortly. So come check that out. We'd love to have you. And we don't get 2 weeks in a row without another Associated RC10 re-release. This time though, it's not. This time it is an RC10 with the 4-wheel drive conversion pre-done. From what I've gathered from my limited knowledge of vintage RCs, back in the day, MIP developed a 4-wheel drive kit for the RC10. And these days, it is still pretty highly sought after to find an original, good shape type thing, as you could imagine in the vintage world. Now, Associated, hot on the let's remake another RC10 train, got the idea, or I believe that there's more to it, but they basically redid a version of the MIP 4-wheel drive that you can now just buy in one complete unit with the RC10 and the 4-wheel drive system. From the comments and things like that from postings of this new vehicle, people like it, but also they want an MIP version of this. They don't want just Associated's remade version. They want the MIP version because it's vintage. It's not just trying to make an RC10 go fast. They want something that is like what used to be a thing. So I don't know. I mean, in the world of RC10s, you've got about 1 billion choices now. So if you don't like this one, maybe you'll like one of the many, many others that have been made available. But there you go. If you want a 4-wheel drive version of an old car, they're trying to make an old car better, but not just using their better cars. I don't know. Check out the link below. You can put one on pre-order. CEN is putting out an updated livery version of their 1/8 scale rally car. This is that Puma rally car that is licensed Ford and Red Bull, all around pretty solid looking car. A lot of fun to drive. Again, 1/8 scale brushless RTR from them. And really, from what I can gather from the information, the only difference is the fact that they have updated the livery to follow more closely along with what the full-size race team is doing. Simple, but I like that little bit of an update. It's cool that they're just gonna, hey, might as well just get this updated now, match what these guys are running all season. I don't hate that at all. So if you thought about it before, didn't pull the trigger, and now you're thinking about it again, hey, make sure you get the new one. This week, new from Night Customs, kind of, is a CEN F450 utility bed. Now you may be wondering, didn't we just talk about that a couple of weeks ago or so when we talked about one from Scale by Chris, which looks very similar, and that's because it is. And this is the Scale by Chris version of that for a print it yourself option. He has worked exclusively with Night Customs to offer this model through the Night Customs website, which also has all of the ability for people to print for you throughout the Night Customs network. A pretty sweet little overall setting. So if you don't want to print it yourself, you don't have a printer at home, you can find one of the Night Customs registered 3D printer people and you can have them do it. Or I believe Scale by Chris still had some. Maybe he's printing for people as well. Not 100% sure how that works, but these are pretty detailed. I think they look great. I thought they looked good when Scale by Chris posted them up before as well. But if you're already familiar with Night Customs, maybe you have one of his subscriptions, whatever it may be, cool new collaborative release. If you're a VW Golf fan, Tamiya, every time, self-conscious about how I say it. They've got you covered with a new upcoming release. I believe that this was shown at the Nürburgring Toy Fair, but I didn't see as much information about it at the time, or it came afterwards and it just looks like similar Tamiya displays. Definitely one of the coolest body styles of VW Golfs, but either way, underneath, who cares? It's one of the many Tamiya chassis that you probably have already seen a few of. Beyond that though, golf stuff. Gotta love it. This week, Boom Racing announced a new soft top system for one of their Land Rovers. This is the Kudu full canvas soft top and hoop set. And it does have this very cool, like aluminum frame that goes in the back bed area of one of these Land Rovers. And then this canvas top that's got some wild details, including like the rear window will roll up. It's got tiny looking clasps to it. And they show some detailed like versions of these, like they've been weathered. The real canvas has been weathered. And what actually looks kind of interesting about this is just like oftentimes when you see scale accessories made out of materials like this, it's a little bit too rigid or thick for the model. So it just doesn't act right. You know, for example, the rear window on this, it's actually rolled up at what looks like a size that is appropriate. So they use something that's soft and thin enough to be representative. And just overall, this thing looks pretty cool. It's still for a Land Rover, so that automatically means I can't actually like it, but it still looks like they did a pretty good job overall. New from Boom Racing there. I also saw they had some like pricing discussion topics on their pages. If you're interested in finding all the details out about that, maybe go read there as well. But I think we talked about that enough. But if you don't think we've talked about it enough, you should check out the channel membership. And that's where I talk about stuff again a lot. Like Afternoon's Delight, which is an extension of this show. This has all been a segue. Afternoon's Delight, extension of this show. We go back over the topics. See where I was going with that? Anyway, also helps support the channel a whole bunch. Much appreciated to everybody who's interested. If you'd like some more information, there's a link in the description below with all of that info. Traxxas just announced some small and medium size work mats. Traxxas work mats, I mean, you've probably seen 100 of them if you go into local hobby shops and places. Always see those big rubber work mats from the Traxxas reps on the desk there. The guys are using them for repair or whatever. These are their new small and mediums. And they've got kind of a cool pattern across, and 2 of the hex areas have a silver or gray area on them, and those are actually magnetic little areas, so you can attach, if you have magnetic screws, you know, non-stainless or like most stainless, then it'll be a nice little catch for that. They show this for a couple of different size vehicles. A small, like the TRX4M, fits perfectly on it. Medium, they're using a different car. I don't remember what's in this photo. I edited this like 35 minutes ago. Proline is continuing to support the Losi Pro Moto with new parts, and this week it's this new billet front brake caliper, trying to maximize the braking capability of this vehicle, especially with some of those other new setups like the Super Moto version, all using the same brake caliper. This currently also on pre-order, but it only shows orange so far, which I'm good with. I'm just saying, it's a bit surprising if there's not some other colors available very shortly. And also from Proline, they made some new licensed Grom bodies for those little Armas, like the Mojave, the trophy truck, this little Chevy, pre-painted bodies or pre-printed bodies. Just drop it on. They have 2 different colors of them. These little Groms are incredibly fun, especially for the price. And these new bodies look fantastic as well. Good job all around. But that's going to do it for this week's news topics. For this week's question, talked about Traxxas work mats. What is your favorite bench top accessory? Whether it's a specific tool, I love the DeWalt 8-volt gyros that have been discontinued. If it's a specific mat, a light, a iPad, whatever it is, put your favorite desktop accessory for the workbench down in the comments below. You know, I love reading the comments, my favorite part of the Scale News update. But with that said, that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks again for watching. If you're interested, hit the like button. There's some membership information down there as well. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.